What is a verb? Definition and examples in English with types. You will learn here what is a verb, definition and examples in English with its types. You should learn about verbs in detail to understand the English language. What is a verb in English grammar? In English sentences, the words that indicate any kind of action are called verbs. Suppose you are reading now. This reading is an action, isn't it? So this reading is a verb. Various important details about verb are discussed here. Hopefully, a student will be able to gain a complete understanding of verbs by reading the entire discussion, inshallah. How to recognize verb in a sentence. English sentences are made up of different types of words. So, among those words that indicate doing any kind of work, those words are verbs. For example, I write a story. The function of this sentence is write. So the word write is a verb. How many types of verb are there in English? The verb is mainly divided into two parts. Namely, finite verb, non-finite verb. These two types of verbs are discussed in detail below. 1. What is finite verb in English grammar? A finite verb refers to those verbs that express the complete meaning of the sentence. No other verb is needed in this case to express the speaker's thoughts. This verb is used by changing the subject, number, and tense of the sentence. Finite verb examples. It will be more convenient to see the application of finite verb in some sentences. So let's see the use of finite verb in some sentences. I want a pen. I eat an apple. What makes a verb finite in a sentence? One of the aspects of knowing finite verb is that there will be only one verb in the sentence and the speaker's thoughts will be fully expressed by that verb. That is, the sentence will end. The part after the verb of that sentence expresses a complete meaning even if it is omitted. For example, I eat banana. Even if the part after eat is removed from this sentence, i.e. banana, it remains I eat. See that a full meaning is revealed even by so few parts. So eat is a finite verb. How many types of finite verb are there? Finite verb can be divided into two parts. Namely, principal verb, auxiliary verb. These are discussed below. What is the principal verb? The verb that can express the full meaning of the sentence by itself is called the principal verb or main verb. No English sentence can be formed without the principal verb. When there is only one verb in a sentence, it is considered a principal verb. Principal verb examples. Let's see some applications of principal verbs in English sentences. I eat mango. He plays football. You read books. In the above sentences, eat, play, and read are principal verbs. Because these verbs can express the full meaning by themselves. How to recognize verb in a sentence. When a verb in an English sentence can express complete meaning by itself, it should be identified as a principal verb. Moreover, if there is only one verb in a sentence, whatever type of verb it is, it will be considered as principal verb in this case. How many types of principal verbs? The principal verb is divided into two parts. Namely, 1. Transitive verb and intransitive verb. They are discussed in detail. Transitive verb meaning in English grammar. Transitive verb refers to all verbs that require an action or object to perform their function. Without an object, the meaning of the sentence is not complete or the speaker's mind is not fully expressed. Transitive verb examples. It will be easier to understand by looking at some examples of transitive verbs. So let's look at some examples. I am eating a meal. I saw a bird. See, if the objects a meal and a bird are not removed from the above two sentences, then the meaning of the two sentences is not complete. So the verbs used here are transitive verb. How to identify transitive verb in a sentence? If the complete meaning of the sentence is not revealed by omitting the object of the verb, then it should be considered as transitive verb. In this case, without the object, the speaker's mind remains incomplete. Intransitive verb definition in English. Intransitive verbs refer to verbs that do not need an object to perform their action. To fully express the speaker's mind or to complete the meaning of the sentence, the object is not needed, which is called the intransitive verb. Intransitive verb example. Let's see some examples of intransitive verb. He goes there. The boy sleeps. Neither of the above two sentences has an object. So the verb of both sentences is an intransitive verb in this case. Recognizing intransitive verbs. In the case of an intransitive verb, y does not have an object. These verbs do not take an object to express the speaker's thoughts. This type of verb can be followed by other parts of speech, but it will not be an object. Auxiliary verb definition in English grammar. The verbs that help the main verb to fully express the meaning of the sentence are called auxiliary verbs or helping verbs. Auxiliary verb examples. Let's see some examples of auxiliary verbs below. I am writing. You are reading. In the two sentences above, am and are auxiliary verbs. Because these two verbs help in explaining the dynamic work of write and read respectively. How many types of auxiliary verb are there? Auxiliary verb can be divided into two parts. Namely, primary auxiliary verb, modal auxiliary verb. These are discussed below. What is primary auxiliary verb definition? The auxiliary verb which helps the main verb to form the tense of a sentence and helps the sentence to form the negative sentence is called the primary auxiliary verb. Primary auxiliary verbs are have, having, has, had, had not, do, do not, does, does not, did, did not, am not, is, are, was, were, be, been, to be, wasn't, etc. Primary auxiliary verb example sentences. Let's see the use of some primary auxiliary verbs in sentences below. I have bought a new bike. He did not go there. She is watching the game. Modal auxiliary verb meaning in English. Different types of attitudes of the speaker such as permission, ability, obligation. Prohibition, lack of necessity, advice, possibility, probability, etc. are used to express the auxiliary verbs are called modal auxiliary verb. Modal auxiliary verb examples. Let's see some modal auxiliary verb examples below. You can eat the food. He may come today. May I come to the class? Alimullah can read. To non-finite verb meaning in English. The non-finite verb refers to those verbs that do not express the full meaning of the sentence. In this case, the help of another verb is needed to express the speaker's thoughts. This verb is not used by changing the subject, number, and tense of the sentence. Let's see some example sentences of non-finite verb. I want to read. He wants to go. In the two examples above, to read and to go are non-finite verbs. Because they cannot express the full meaning without the help of another verb. How to identify non-finite verb in a sentence. Non-finite verbs can never express the complete meaning of the sentence. Such a verb needs the help of another verb to the full meaning of the sentence or the speaker's mind. Types of non-finite verbs in English language. Non-finite verb is divided into three parts. Namely, 1. Gerund infinitives. Participle. Let's start to discuss about them. Gerund meaning in English grammar. If ing is used as the subject or object of the sentence with a verb, then it is called a gerund. In other words, if ing is added to a verb, it is called a gerund. Gerunds examples. Let's see some examples of gerund. Swimming is good for your health. I like swimming. He is fond of swimming. In the above three sentences, the word swimming is used as a subject and object in conjunction with the verb ing. Infinitive meaning in English grammar with examples. To plus verb, present form of verb, are called infinitives. That is, the present form of the verb is called infinitive. Infinitives examples. I want to go. He wants to play. What is participle in English grammar with examples? A participle is the form of a verb that acts as both a verb and an adjective in an English sentence. The three types of participle are present participle, past participle, and perfect participle. Participle example. Below are some examples of participles. A blooming rose. The broken heart. A flying butterfly. If you look at the above sentences, you will understand that the verbs work as verbs and adjectives at the same time. Some more important verbs. In addition to the above mentioned verbs, some other verbs are used in English grammar. Linking verb meaning in English. The verbs in the English sentence that do not do any work but establish a relationship with the subject and other words in the sentence are called linking verbs. In other words, when verbs are used as main verbs in English sentences, they are called linking verbs. Linking verbs examples. She is a teacher. I have 2 sons. In the above sentences, the verb is and has established a relationship with the subject of the 2 sentences, so they are linking verbs. What is the meaning of causative verb? A causative verb is a type of verb in which the subject does not do the work himself but causes others to do a certain work. Causative verb examples. Mother feeds her baby. He flies a kite. In the above 2 sentences, the doer is not doing the work but another entity is doing the work. So the verbs used in this case are causative. Phrasal verb or group verbs or prepositional verb. When a verb or action combined with a preposition conveys a different meaning without expressing its meaning, then the verb and preposition together are called phrasal verbs, group verbs, or prepositional verbs. Phrasal verbs examples. Let's see some examples of phrasal verbs or group verbs. He stayed up reading a history book. He takes after his mother. Don't look down upon the beggar. The verb used in the above sentences is not expressing its meaning but rather expressing a different meaning. What is stative verb in English grammar? In English sentences, the verbs that do not express dynamic action but describe the state of action are called stative verbs. These verbs are not used to form continuous tense. Stative verbs can be classified into 4 categories. Namely, in the case of emotion equals want, love, need, hate. For possession equals own, belong, have, want. In the case of sense equals smell, see, seem, hear. In the case of thought equals believe, know, remember. Stative verb examples. Alamula hates false. You see a bird. The verbs used in the above sentences do not mean any dynamic subject but rather the state of work. Impersonal verb meaning in English. The verbs which are used only in third person and their subject is it is called impersonal verbs. Impersonal verb examples. Let's see some examples of impersonal verbs by using them in sentences. It rains. It dews. In the above sentences, the subject is third person and the verb used in this case is mainly impersonal verb. Reflexive verb meaning in English. If the meaning of the subject is reflected in the object of the English sentence, the verb used in this case is called a reflexive verb. In this case, the subject which refers to the object refers to the same person. Reflexive verb examples. She killed herself. He fanned himself. In the above sentences, the subject and object are referring to the same person and the verb used in this case is reflexive verb. Reciprocal verb definition in English. Among several nouns or pronouns, the verb used to express the action is called a reciprocal verb. A reciprocal pronoun is used as the object of this type of verb. Each other is used for 2 people and one another is used for more than 2. Reciprocal verbs examples. Rana and Donna helped each other. The 3 students help each other. Final words for verb definition and examples in English. Reciprocal verb definition in English. In the context of the above discussion, we can say that in English sentences, the words that refer to doing any kind of action are called verbs. Through this discussion, we got to know what types of verbs are called and what they are. Types of verbs with examples in detail. If a student studies the above discussion with due attention, I believe he will be able to acquire a good quality of knowledge. This content may also change with time. So after watching the video, if possible, when you can see the complete content once, then you will know everything. Thank you very much.